Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi Maseches Bava Kamma DAF Mem Vav. We are holding one line off the top of the Amud, right at the two dots. Rabbi Yehuda Ein lo yishmira ela saken, back to a shoyer hamuad, who's known to be violent. According to Rabbi Yehuda, shmira pechusa, shmira ma'ula, basic or advanced guarding, not too effective. The only way is a saken, a knife. Basically, you have to shech the animal. There's no way to wash this animal. So anything less than that does not do. Amar Rabba, my time with Rabbi Yehuda, how does Rabbi Yehuda know that any sort of guarding is not sufficient to absolve the owner from any damages that his animal inflicts? The Amakra, the pasuk says regarding a muad, v'lo yishmirenu, no shmira there, and the drasha is shuv ein lo yishmira lozeh. The pasuk is telling you, don't bother watching it. Shmira is not effective. If that's the case, take a look at the pasuk by a pit, by a bar, which has similar phraseology. He didn't watch it. He didn't cover the pit. Nami, so there as well, you're going to learn there's no way to cover it, there's no way to guard a pit. The only way is to sort of plug up the hole. Really? You can't just cover a pit, responsibly and address the concern that way. So perhaps you'll say, you'll suggest that in fact that is so. But Tanan, we have a Mishnah that you can cover a pit. A person digs a pit, but then he covers it responsibly with a durable cover, and something falls through it, he's potter. I'll tell you Rabbi Lezer's reason. Kedesanya, as we have in a Bryce, Rabbi Nosson Oimer Shloi Gadol Adam Kelav Ra B'Teich Beisai Val Yamid Sulam Re'ua B'Teich Beisai. So this is a pasuk that we have by a person who builds a new home. Kisivne Bayis Chadash Vasisa Makel Gagecha. Right, you build a new home, build a railing around your rooftop. Sasim Damim B'Beisecha. Don't cause any bloodshed in your home. Says Rabbi Nosson, we take this pasuk and we apply it elsewhere as well. Don't present any pitfalls or hazards or dangers within your home. If a person has a dangerous dog or a flimsy ladder, get rid of it. Watch out. Guard your house, protect it from any dangers. So therefore, says the Gemara, when the pasuk relates to a shor hamud with the words v'lo yishmerenu, so based on Rabbi Nosson's precept, get danger out of the way, we learn that a shor hamud as well, the only way to get him addressed is out of the way. And here comes Rabbi Lezer's shita, that any sort of shmira does not absolve the owner. Ein lo yishmira ela sakin hadran alach shoyer shenagach arba v'chamish. Says the Mishnah. Shoyer shenagach asar para. So we're working with a shor, a bull who is a tam, who when he causes damage, he pays chatzi nezek, half of the total damages, but it's migufay as well. It's only taken from the attacker's guf. Basically, the owner does not have to pay out of his pocket. He only has to pay in as much as his attacker is worth that value of the damage, right? So a bull attacks a cow and kills it, let's say, and then the newborn of this cow is found right next to the cow, and Rashi says umeis. It's found to be dead. Now we don't know who caused its death. Was it due to the attack? So she gave birth, because of the attack and the child, or the birth took place before the attack, and the child was, the offspring of the animal was just stillborn, was mace prior to the attack. We're not sure. Nobody was there. We're not sure if the leda occurred before the incident, and the bull or the bull owner is not responsible for that. Or perhaps the leda occurred after the negicha, and Rashi says the hapala, this miscarriage, this accident occurred as direct result. of the attack, and the attacker is responsible. So what happens now? How much does he pay? So he knows that he has to compensate for the lost cow. What about the offspring? So we compromise, 50-50. Mishal chatzi nezek lepara. So with respect to the para's damages, you go 50% there, as per a regular tam rate. So you pay full there. Or via nezek levlad, regarding the vlad, you only pay a quarter, so half of the chatzi nezek, because there is an uncertainty. Now, same thing on the flip side. A para, a cow who was expecting, attacked a bull. And as we explained before, by a shara tam, which is the case here, you pay me gufa from your own self. So the attacker becomes, the object of your claim. Now we're not sure whether we can claim from the para and the vlad within it, or only the para. Was the vlad present during the attack? Did he take part in the attack? Or was he born before the attack? In which case, you have no claim on the offspring. A para attacked a shar, and you find the vlad nearby. We're not sure if the Leida occurred before the Negicha, in which case the offspring did not really take part in that attack. Or perhaps the Leida took place afterwards, so he was very much part and parcel of the actual attack. So half payment comes from the para, or and a quarter from the vlad, and of course the Gemara will explain this in great detail. So we have two parts of the Mishnah. Part number one discusses a bull who attacks a cow, which is now discovered to be dead together with its vlad. We're not sure whether the vlad was killed due to the attack or before the attack. And the Mishnah says, you go 50-50 on the vlad. Amar v'damar shmo, well, that's a shita of sumchos. Zu divrei sumchos, the Amar who says, maman hamutal b'safik cholken, if there's any uncertainty regarding monetary claims, you go 50-50. Aval chacham, Ayman chacham disagree. This is a major rule when it comes to financial matters. If you have a claim, you want to extract money, you got to prove your case. Otherwise, you get nothing. So there's no splitting, there's no compromising unless you prove your case. Okay. Okay, so we know this is the Chacham's opinion, but why add this elaborate expression? We're trying to incorporate another aspect as well. We're trying to sort of expand this concept to other. What for? The point is like this, for two things. First of all, listen to this case. Reuben has a claim on Shimon. I know for a fact you owe me money. Shimon says, you know what? Maybe yes, maybe no. Shema, I'm not sure. Even in this case, we say, well, unless Reuben proves his case, even though really his case seems to be, better established than Shimon, still we say, you have to prove your case. Inabi. Or another point, as we learned in the following case, even if you have a raiv, you have the majority factor in your favor, you have to still prove your case. So we have a story like this. Reuben sells Shimon a bull. Typically people buy these animals for farming purposes, for plowing, etc. So they want to hold on to it for a while. They're hoping it's a tame animal, right? Turns out it's a wild beast. You can't hold on to it. The only way, is to take it to the butcher and shecht it. Rabbi Amar, Shimon can say, listen, I want a refund. Mistaken, transaction. The seller can tell the buyer, listen, I understand, I feel for you, but you know what? I had in mind the shchita, I didn't think you'd hold on to it. So, in this case, we say Hamaitzi Mechavel Varaya, that's going to be Rav's opinion, even though there's a Roiv. Sorry, in this case Shmuel says that the owner does not have to refund him because despite the fact that there's a Roiv factor in his favor, as we're going to see in a minute. Okay, so the question is like this. Amai, first of all, let's just break down the story here. What's the issue? V'nichsi, let's take a look. Let's determine. Igavra the zavan l'radya. Is this buyer? Is he a farmer who buys animals for radya, for plowing? Then we know he's right. Igavra the zavan l'chsasa. Or is he a butcher that buys for shchita purposes? So let that be a determining factor. L'tzricha must be begavra the zavan l'halaha. He's a fellow that has a farm and a butcher shop. So we're not sure. Well, the next we'll take a look at the price, because typically farming animals are more expensive than shchita animals. Wed May l'radio, if you paid, as a farming price, the radio that we know was for that purpose. Wed May nechsasa, if you paid for a shchita, a shchita rate, the nechsasa we know was for that. Litzricha must be like this, that they're both the same price today. The Iker Bisra, the price of basar went up, in which case the animals purchased for shchita purposes are going to be just as expensive as for farming purposes. So that cannot be an indication. Amri, now the next question is like this. So basically, Rav says he gets a refund. Shmuel says he doesn't. Now, in a case where the seller has no other assets to take from, so ultimately the buyer is just going to hang on to this animal in lieu of a refund, right? So what's the whole issue? So if there's no way to take from otherwise, other than the animal that he's holding, so let the buyer now just hold on to the animal. Again, we're speaking that it's not a difference in price, right? For farming, for shchita, it's all the same price. So ultimately, just hold on to the animal. The Amr as people say, from the master of your claim, basically, the person who you have a claim against, Pari, Bran, Ephra, I will collect. Basically, whatever I can get my hands on, right? So what's the deal over here? He has the animal as his money back. Litzricha must be the ikal sh'talum that the buyer, that the seller does have other assets, and that generates the whole dispute here. Rab Omar, he says, look, I want you to write me a check. I don't want to get stuck with this wild animal. I want a refund. Zilba Seruba, follow the majority factor. Veruba the what do most people buy animals for? Not for shchita. L'radio does they buy it for plowing. Shmuel Omar, no. The seller can tell him I sold it for consumption. We don't follow the Raiv. In this case, Raiv is only good for Isser Beheter Ki Azlina Basaruba B'Yisur when it comes to Isser factors. So there we say, okay, the majority allows you to if most meat is kosher, then you go, right? When it comes to monetary disputes, we don't follow the Raiv factor. Ella rather, you want to get money, you have to prove your case. And that's what Shmuel meant when he said, it's always going to be done, even when there's a Raiv in your favor. And Tesis elsewhere explains, why doesn't Shmuel follow Raiv by Dini Mamonis? He says like this, very pashut, because there's a chazaka factor against you. The other person's in possession of that money, plus there's a miyut, there's a minority, a factor as well in his favor. So there's sort of it's sort of an equal balance. You have the Raiv on your side, but he has the miyut plus the cheskas mammon. So that's why mammon is different than Isser over here. You can't use the Raiv to extract money. Bottom line, although the Mishnah speaks about mammon amutal basafik cholkin, says Shmuel, you should know that's shitas sumchus. Rabban hold amitz mechal v'raya. In all cases, even when the teveya, when the claimer, has a bari, he's certain about his claim, and the nitba is not sure. Still, you have to prove your case in order to extract money. Or in a case where you have a roiv, that's not going to help you. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani. Okay, on the topic of Ha'moitzi Mechaveri, Minayin, how do we even know this idea? That Ha'moitzi Mechaveri al Varaya. Shenema, we have a pasuk. Mi bal dvarim yigash aleim. Pasuk says, look, you have a claim, approach the Bezdin, Yagish Raya aleim, we darshan, Yigash aleim means he presents, he brings his proof. You can't do anything without a proof. Maskav l'Rav Ashi. I mean, isn't that plain logic? Why do we need a pasuk? Svaro, it's plain logic. He says a mashal, the koiv le'ke'eva, a person who has an ailment. He has to run to the doctor. Doctor doesn't come to him. So of course you have a claim. You have to go pursue that claim. You don't need a pasuk for that. Ella krolik Rav Nachman. Omar Rabbi Baravo, the pasuk is for something else. Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rabbi Baravo. So let's say we have Reuben who says, look, Shimon, I lent you $1 million. And Shimon says, look, but actually you already repossessed my house, and you have that collateral, and what happened to that, and went down in value. We got to deal with that too. So the question is, who does Bezdin deal with first? First we go to the Teveya, to Reuven, who has that initial claim. First we deal with that, and then we deal with Shimon's response to Reuven. How do we know this? This is a chiddush. Shenamar Mi ba'al dvar, and the person who's initiating the claim, yigash aleim, he approaches the bezdin, yagish dvar aleim, he presents his case to the bezdin first. Amrin adoi, well, we have some exceptions to the rule when there's potential financial loss on the side of the other fellow. Sometimes we go to Shimon first, and we deal with his claim first regarding the collateral that Reuven supposedly has of his. For instance, where? When there's potential financial loss looming, the kazili nichse, he's saying, look, Reuven has my thing, and because of that, it's going down in price. I have somebody that's going to buy. So there's, imminent potential loss to Shimon. It's not fair to go ignore his claim and tend to Reuven's exclusively. So we deal with, whoever is, facing imminent loss. Okay, back to the second case of the Mishnah. A para knocked out a shar, and the para has a baby. Question: did the baby take part in the attack, which would justify putting a claim on the baby as well? Mishnah says, well, the para pays half, the vlad a quarter. We'll try to figure this out now. So basically, you're saying that the owner of the attacked animal, the victim, can get a half and a quarter. So he's totaling 75%, which is more than he's entitled to, which is 50%. Why is he getting half and a quarter? They're meant to pay only 50%. 100% minus a quarter, meaning 75% ma'ivite. What's that doing here? Amar Abaye, it doesn't mean that. Of course, he gets actually less than 50% because of all these uncertainties. Amar Abaye, Chatzi nezek. The Mishnah, when it says the para pays 50%, it means 50% of what he would have paid if he would have been the lone attacker. So if a para attacks on its own without any issues of potential partners of the Vlad, taking part, he's just a lone attacker. He pays, let's say damaged 100, he pays 50. That's it. But because he has this sort of partner with him, so it goes down to half. Chatzi nezek echad me'arbav b'nezek, which is a quarter of the total. Now, when the Mishnah says that the Vlad pays a quarter, it doesn't mean a quarter of the $100. It means a quarter, or via nezek echad mishmoni b'nezek, a quarter of what he would have paid if he would have attacked on his own, which is an eighth of the $100. Right? And we'll see why in a minute. So basically, this is again in line with Sumchas' opinion, that whenever there's a suffix, it gets chopped down by 50%. So whatever you would have paid, now you pay half. The Par would have paid 50%. Had he been on his own, he only pays a quarter. And the Vlad only goes down to an eighth. Because over there, we're not even sure. We're not even sure if he was part of the whole deal. You see, by the Par itself, we know he certainly attacked. Did I have a partner? Did I not have a partner? So I paid 50% if I would have paid if I would have been on my own. But the Vlad is really a double uncertainty. First of all, did he attack together with the para? So in which case he only has to do a half, right? But that's not even sure. We're not even sure if he was there at the time, so he goes down to a quarter, which is really an eighth of the total amount. Now, hold it. What's going on here? Is the para and the Vlad, are they owned by the same person? So what's the point with the quarter, with an eighth? Either way, the guy owes you 50% of damages. Be it the para, be it who cares? If the par and the vlad are both owned by the same person, so the victim's owner can turn to the bala of the para. Either way, give me 50% of the total damage, irrespective of who did it. It must be that they're owned by separate people. The par the chad, vlad the chad. The par is owned by one person and the vlad by another person. So that's how we get to this sort of dispute and compromise. Because the Vlad will say, well, I'm not sure if I was there, and the part, right? So each one has to only pay in proportion to his a part in the story. Now, suppose the claim was imposed on the owner of the para. So here, of course, he can say, look, the Amar Leil Baal Para, you can tell the Baal Para, Par didach aziktan. You know what? I have no idea if there was anybody else with you. I know that your animal attacked my animal. You know what? You worry about the rest. Havli raya dislach shutfi. You prove that there was a partner with your para. I have no idea. I know that your para hit my animal. So in this case, you shouldn't lose anything. off the 50% of the total. So it must be that what happened was the owner of the victim went first to the owner of the Vlad. So by doing so, he indicated that the Vlad did participate. The Amalei, so the Baal of the Par now turns to the Baal of the Shor, the victim. Now you've indicated, you have admitted the Shut Isli, that I have a partner. So now he has to sort of submit to this arrangement because he himself conceded that there was more than one attacker. There's another version. No, even if the victim first went to the owner of the para without conceding anything regarding the presence of a Vlad during the attack, so the para can push him away and say, look, the Amalei says, you know, the Shutvi Isli, you know I had somebody there, so now you're not going to get full rate from me, rather I'm going to give part, and the Vlad will give the other part. So according to Abai, the para was owned by one person, the Vlad by another, so, each one claims that he had a partner, and therefore, the Bala para only pays, half of what he would have paid had he have been a lone attacker. And the Vlad goes down to even half of that, because he's not even sure that he was there during the attack. So, if he would have been there, then he splits the Chatzi Nezek with the para, which basically means he gives a quarter of the total damage. But since he may not have even been there during the attack, so it goes down to half of that, which is an eighth of the total. Amar Rava, Atu echad me'arba benezek. Does the Mishnah speak about a quarter and an eighth? Echad nishmona benezek atani. Where does the Mishnah speak about these numbers? Chatzi nezek or Ravia nezek atani. Mishnah says the par gives half and the Vlad quarter, not quarter and an eighth. Ela Amar Rava. He switches the case. No, we're speaking that the mother and the child were only the same person. And this is what the Mishnah means. If the para is around, which allows him to, get his claim from the guf of the para, right? So exactly. The victim was entitled to his full, chatzi nezek, straight out of the para. Less la para, but if there's no para there to take from, and again the Tam only allows migufay, right? So mishtal mervia nezek mivlad. So in this case, the fellow could only claim a quarter of the total damage from the vlad, because if in fact the Vlad was part of the deal, right? So then you would take the full Chatzi Nezek from the Vlad, because again we're speaking about the same owner, right? So whether the para is here or the Vlad is here, you would be able to take the Chatzi Nezek from either one. But since we're not sure that the Vlad participated in the attack, so you have no right to take the Chatzi Nezek from the Vlad. And if you only go down to 50% of that, which is a quarter of the total damage. Right? So Abaye learned that the two animals are owned by different people. So each one can sort of say, well, I'm not really responsible, and maybe I was. Here, Rava's approach is, there's one owner on the para and the vlad. So this fellow certainly has to pay the full thing. But the halacha is a tam only gets migufay. So the para certainly has to provide, because the para were certainly there. So if the para is there, he has to pay the full 50% from the para. But if the para is not here, the only thing he has is a vlad who we're not sure whether he was there during the attack. So since the Chatzi Nezek is only migufay, maybe he wasn't even there. Maybe it's not meant to be taken from the vlad, only from the para is not. So he gets something, which is 50%. 50% of the Chatzi Nezek. Now, Tamad Adina, that's only because we're not sure. We don't know whether the vlad was together with the mother, was basically in the mother when the attack took place, or it was already born before the attack. But let's say we know for sure. Let's say we know for sure that the mother was expecting during the attack, and the child took part, participated. So in this case, no question. Even if the para disappeared, you can take the full Chatzi Nezek from the vlad, because he was a full participant. Why? Maybe he's considered a different entity. No. Rava Tameh, because Rava follows his opinion. Rava Parashi Yizika, Goyve Mivlada. An animal that attacked, a par who was expecting attacked, you can collect from the Vlad. My time a Gufi, because it's part of the same entity. Tarnagala Shezika, but a hen, a chicken who causes damage, and the chicken disappears and leaves behind an egg, let's say. Is that the same as the mother? You can't collect from the Beitza. My time a Pir Shabamu. It's a detached, it's a separated entity. It's not the same. It's not one entity with the mother. Rashi says, Dava hamufresh mimena. So even if the egg was there during the attack within the Tarnagoylis, it's not considered one and the same entity, and therefore you cannot collect from that. Okay, let's summarize today's daf. Rabbi Yehuda had a chiddush, a muad. The only solution is a sakin. We had a mishnah with two cases. In the first, a shur attacked a para. We're not sure whether he killed the vlad of the para. So according to Sumchus, he pays 50% there. According to Chachamim, hamoitz mechavel of araya, you don't get paid until you prove your case. In the second case, a para was mazak a shur. We're not sure whether the vlad took part in the attack. So there as well, we sort of compromise. According to Abaye, we're speaking that they were owned by two different people, and therefore we go proportionately. According to Rava, they're owned by the same person, and really he owes the Chatzi Nezek, but if the Parah is not here, and the Tam is only Mishalim Megufay, so the Vlad, we're not sure whether he took part in the attack, so you only get 50%, and the conclusion was that if the Vlad was certainly within the mother during the attack, then he's a full participant, different than a Beitza, which is considered a separate entity. All the best to you, B'suras Tevis, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.